Hey Panda Nation, you are listening to the Inverted Gear podcast with your hosts Nelson and Hillary. Join us every week as we take you behind the scenes into our brand, discuss upcoming projects, and conversate beyond the mat with the interesting people we've met along the way.
Good morning, Hillary.
Hello, Nelson.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Fantastic.
I love your morning energy.
Yes, and we have some background noise here in Bethlehem, the beautiful city here, doing some road work right outside our window. So you hear some noise in the background. We apologize.
So what are we talking about today, Nelson?
So one question that we gotten over and over again over the years is, what is the favorite place you've been to? And what place that you haven't been to do you want to visit? But like you said earlier, when we were talking off air, it's really hard to narrow it down to one place. So we reached a compromise and we picked 5 places each that we have been to, and places we haven't been to that we'd love to go to. And then doesn't necessarily have to be a country. It might be a different city or region in a country that we haven't been able to visit. For those of you that don't know, me and Hillary traveled pretty extensively at one point of our lives. Now we have kids, and while we still travel, it's much less than we used to. There was about a 3-year period between like 2014, 2017. We say, like, it was the big travel years.
I think so. It's like as soon as we got married, we were on the go. Got our passports. First stop was Chile to see where Nelson was from, where he grew up, visit some of his family roots.
Yeah.
And then we really never slowed down until COVID made us, right?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, because even when we had Leo, we took a break while, towards the end of your pregnancy and the first few months after he was born, so he could build an immune system. But after that, I think his first trip out, he was about 6 months when he went to see my grandma, right?
Right. We did his short trial run. Stopped over in Florida, then Puerto Rico. Is that right? Or we just went right to Puerto Rico? That was like his first flight.
I think we just went to Miami the first time. And I think like Puerto Rico was soon after. But I think back then we were flying American Airlines a lot. So whenever we went to Chile, we were flying to Miami, into Santiago and Chile. So we did like the first leg. So his first flight was just to Miami. We spent a weekend in Miami.
And then we went back to Puerto Rico later.
Yeah, separate flight.
Okay.
That was like Philadelphia to San Juan. Because American Airlines hub in the East Coast is Philly.
Right. Okay.
So, yeah. So during that time period, well, something like 25 countries, I think we got to visit, and then a lot of the U.S. So for this one, everything I picked has been outside the U.S. Is your list similar?
Me too. It is similar. Even though there's still so much territory here, we still need to discover.
So we might have to do a separate
one, I think, just for the U.S.
Just for the U.S. But this is a world traveling edition. And how about you? You kick us off. What is your top 5? Start with no particular order.
No particular order. It's hard enough. The first one that does come to mind, though, is one that we've talked about. I keep coming back to it, is seeing the beaches of Whitsunday in Northern Australia.
So this is places we've been to.
I thought you said the places we want to go.
Okay, we start with that then. Places we want to go to that we haven't been. Place we want to go, we haven't been to yet. So we've been to Australia.
Sorry if I misunderstood.
It's okay. You made both lists, right?
I did.
Okay, so we started with places we haven't been to. And then Whitsunday in Australia, so northern Queensland.
Right.
New Queensland, right?
Yes, especially it seems very nice for the family. Like, it's milder waters. It doesn't get too much weather. It seems very just calm and open and not too heavily touristed, but just absolutely beautiful.
Okay. Great Barrier Reef action.
Right. Right. All the wildlife there. So yeah, it's one of those things. Like, I feel like we were so close to maybe making it there the first time when we went to Australia, and then we just keep talking about going back, and more time keeps passing, and it's just one of those things. I don't want to lose sight of it.
Cool.
Ever get back to that part of the world.
All right. So I have on my list Spain, and I'm gonna cheat and add Portugal in there too. So the whole Iberic Peninsula. I have some of my family roots are from Spain. I believe my father's great grandfather, my great great grandfather was from Spain. So I have some Spanish blood in me, and I have we've been in Portugal for a layover one time, but we have never been to Lisbon. I always wanted to go to the European when it was held in Lisbon. I was never able to make it happen, and now they kind of moved that from me. So I would love to go to Lisbon. I would love to compete in. I've never competed in Europe. Hillary got to do that in what was that, January? She went to France, Paris. And how did you do at the European?
Not my best, but I did place in my division and had a really fun match in the absolute. Got second.
Did you train while you were there?
Did not. Did more sightseeing right out of the gate.
Maybe that's why. Gotta get that plane right out.
Maybe I was so jet lagged, Nelson, and then like I said, like right off the plane, we did some sightseeing. We went right like to Limburg. We just walk, and I was traveling with two friends and just exhausted, I think, from all the walking. I needed to rest.
Yeah.
Catch up on my sleep and get on a good sleep schedule.
Yeah. The thing too is Spain and Portugal, the jiu-jitsu scene seems to be doing really well. Portugal is a Portuguese speaking country, so there's a lot of Brazilians going there to teach early on. Spain is one of the better economies in Europe. So there's a lot of jiu-jitsu talent that moved there to teach a long time ago. So there's a ton of black belts now. So I think the jiu-jitsu scene is like super healthy, and I would love to visit. So if you got anybody listening to this, you live in Spain or Portugal, we'll like Hillary and I come visit. Drop us an email. What you got for number 2 or second?
Next one that came to mind, actually, is where our friends like to go a lot. John and Chloe, their Lake Como in northern Italy. Just, I guess, piggybacking off of all their trips, and every trip of theirs seems to be a little different. But that lake, just paddleboarding on that lake, I want to go there. Experience the food, just the culture of northern Italy, because we've been to Rome, and I feel like the north slows down a little bit outside of those big cities, and I was very overwhelmed on that trip, and when we were doing our layovers in Rome, and just too much going on. But I'd like to go to the north of Italy and see some of the history up there and the lakes, and experience some of the food and the hiking and just the scenery of that part of the world as well.
Yeah, Rome, it can be overwhelming for tourists, especially if you go towards the touristy areas. So let's say the Colosseum or the Vatican, and there's people like locals that sell the guided tours, and they are aggressive.
Very. And it's just, I don't want to take away from that. Like, I did love that trip. I would not never do it again. It's just, I'm really glad that we did it. I'm so glad we did it before we had kids, though, because it was a lot to take in all at once, especially because we were trying to squeeze it into a layover to and from Sardinia, right?
Yeah.
So
it was a stopover, if you will.
Anyway, I'd really like to branch out of that area and see
more of
Italy and what it has to offer, because I really did enjoy the culture of it. It just slow it down a little bit.
Okay. Next on my list, I have Hawaii. So
Yes.
we've been talking about this one for a while, and we have never made it to the islands, and I would love to go to Hawaii.
Which do you have a particular island, or you want to just see them all?
I am not picky. As long as there's like there's a buried pig in there somewhere like a little luau action, I'll
A
be happy.
buried pig in the sand.
Buried pig in the sand, I'll be happy.
You've had practice with that, right, Nelson?
Yes, in Mexico we've done some like sand pits situations, and I forget what, like, there's a technical term for that one, for that, but yeah, I love roasted pig. uh, we have a family day coming up for our academy, and we got a cajachina, a little like Cuban box roaster, and we're gonna roast a pig for a little get together with our students in a week or two.
Yeah, big family picnic.
Yeah, and then Hawaii is kind of like the jiu-jitsu scene there. It just seems so cool. I grew up watching a lot of like BJ Penn videos. On BJ Penn, like BJ Penn used to post a lot of techniques on his website,
Mm-hmm.
and in a lot of it, what he would call it, what, advanced fundamentals, advanced basics, something like that. And it was a lot of like early jiu-jitsu content, like really good early jiu-jitsu content before, like, all this YouTube instructionals, before VJ Fanatics, before all this stuff. It was hard to find like good quality stuff online, and BJ Penn was posting like so much stuff, and it seems like, over the years, like the jiu-jitsu scene in Hawaii is kind of like just exploded. So it'd be really cool to go over there and train, and you have your friend living there, right?
Right. At least last time I checked with her, it's been a while now because we keep going back and forth. Hawaii is also on my list, Nelson, because like you said, we talked about this a lot. And Penny Thomas lives there now, at least last time I checked. And wanted to always visit her. And between just other travel plans, not really a great time of year weather-wise, or just kids. I believe she has 2 now as well. And
Yeah, I think like
just trying to coordinate because I really wanted to be able to go see her again, meet her family, train with her.
I think the whole you guys want to train together, and I think you guys want to like try to kill each other, because every time we talked about this, like one of you has been pregnant. So you're like, yeah, no. It's like, you come, but like, we wish you come when we could train more. So we'll make it happen. Shout out to Penny Thomas. We're looking forward to coming to visit you. But yeah, Hawaii, I think we epic. I think
again, just the beaches, the weather, the landscape,
the culture of the island,
the food,
yeah,
all of it.
Yes, I think it'd be really, really, really cool. So you have to figure that out, and that is a long flight from the East Coast. So thankfully, our boys are pretty good travelers, so it should be okay.
Should do a stopover in California first.
There we go. All right, what you got?
Next, since I already checked Hawaii off now, I guess maybe it's the Pisces in me, but I'm very drawn to blue waters. I want to see Greece in the Aegean Sea.
Ooh, very nice. I do not have that on my list. I should. I was obsessed with Greece for a long time when I was growing up.
Me too. All that Greek mythology, and then again, just the landscape of the water and the beautiful just architecture. I want to go see it for real.
That, and I grew up in New Jersey with Greek diners. So I love me some Greek cooking.
Some Greek salad.
So moussaka. Spanakopita.
That's my go-to. Spanakopita. I sorry for pronouncing it wrong, but yes. That spinach pie.
You know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So yeah, our friend Carlos has some jiu-jitsu connections there. He was teaching. He was taught seminars there like every year for a little bit. I know like the jiu-jitsu scene, it's pretty developed now. And a few years ago, we were Austria, and then we had a few days after the camp to figure out, I guess, some extra training in.
We almost went, right?
We almost went, yeah. It was just, we had like, we get like somewhere from Austria. We put out the call to like the Globetrotter community. Say, hey, like, we're 2 black belts, we're traveling, we're gonna be teaching at this camp. We have like 2-3 days. before we have to make our way back to Munich or Frankfurt. I forget where we flew home from. It was either Munich or Frankfurt. Before we have to fly home, if you like us to, host us your academy for a workshop, you just let us know. Give us a guided tour of your city. Let us know where the good restaurants are. Any attractions we need to see, and we'll have to teach for free in exchange for your guided tour services. And we got a ton of invitations, so still have a list of all these people and um how to um get back there. But yeah, Greece was not on my list, but I'm glad you brought it up. Let me see. My turn. Brazil.
Yes, I'm glad you said that too, Nelson. I didn't put it on the list, but go ahead. Sorry.
So yes, we always talked about Brazil. I think at one point we even had a trip pretty much planned, but then this was before we had kids, right around the time we are thinking about having kids, and the whole Zika virus thing happened, and then that freaked us out. So Brazil, we've been training jiu-jitsu over 30 years combined between Hillary and I, and we have never been to Brazil. I mean, we've been to Brazil on layovers traveling to South America, but we have never left Sao Paulo airport. I would love to see Rio. I would love to go to Alliance in Sao Paulo. I have friends in Fortaleza that lived in New Jersey for a little bit, and they were teaching in North Jersey, and now they have they're back in Brazil. They have their academies. I see them at Massive Worlds all the time. So I would love to do a little trip to Brazil. What about you, Hillary?
I'm game.
I'm game. Yeah, I love Brazilian culture. I love Brazilian food. My Portuguese is passable. When I always you can always fill in the gaps with Spanish and speak a little bit of Portuguese and be understood. And I would love to definitely train in Rio, train in Sao Paulo, eat rodízio, eat Brazilian pizza, Brazilian Brazilian burgers, little hamburgao action.
Moqueca. I love their
Moqueca,
fish.
the fish. Yeah. So definitely, there's a lot of really cool culinary stuff happening in Brazil. So it'd be really cool to take a trip over there, and then the training. And we fly to Chile fairly often, so it's not hard for us to do a stopover in Sao Paulo or Rio. And we've been talking about doing it forever. We just got to pull the trigger at this point.
You want to do the Brasileiros?
Yes, I really want to compete in Brazil. That's been on my bucket list forever. So I would love to do Brasileiros. I don't think I really, for a long time, I really wanted to compete in the Tijuca Tennis Club. That's where the OG Brasileiros were held, and
That's
the
where
world
the
champion,
worlds.
the worlds were
Yep.
held, right? So I came up watching all this grainy footage either on YouTube or, yes, I'm this old, VHS tapes of the mundials in the 90s, and all happened at this tennis club in Brazil, in Rio. And I would love to compete there. So I think they were holding either the open, the Brasileiros are not there anymore. So Brazilian nationals have moved. I think they were holding a tournament there though. It might have been a South American or something else, but I think they've moved on to a bigger venue now because everything is so big. So regardless, I would love to train Brazil, eat all the food in Brazil, go to the beaches, and hopefully maybe squeeze a tournament, either the Brasileiro, an Open, or the South American. I would love to compete in the South American little Chilean flag patch on my gi.
That sounds nice. Just to go and experience some of the history of our beloved sport and experience the culture, see some of those important places would be a really good trip. I'm with you. Am I up to my fifth now?
I think you have your.
Let's see. I did Whitsunday, Lake Como, Greece, Hawaii. I still want to see. We still need to go do our trip to Ireland, Scotland. So, sorry, I put two together.
The UK, the rest of the UK.
The rest of the UK that we haven't seen yet. Some more castles.
Kelly loves castles.
I love if it's not a beach, it needs to be a castle.
Oh wow!
And we have a lot of friends there that we were supposed to take a trip in 2020 and it got canceled.
Yes.
because you know what, but it's still up there on my radar.
So Glasgow,
Mm-hmm.
this is a particular academy
Mm-hmm.
run by our favorite boys in all of jiu-jitsu. So shout out to Christiana and Giles. I think Ronin is the name of the academy.
Ronin, yep.
Ronin is the name of the academy. We'd love to visit you guys. So we are working on that. Maybe this fall. Just gotta figure out our schedule. Figure out the boys' schedule. Now, one of our kids gonna start going to school, so I think the school is cool with them taking trips out of the country though.
It's just kindergarten.
It's for culture. It's a culture.
It'll be a cultural trip. Yep.
All right. So I have 2 left. So I have we have visited all these places. We have never been anywhere in Africa. So I'm like super divided into if I want to go like Northern Africa, like Morocco, especially I love Marrakesh. I think it's a really cool place to go. Morocco and Marrakesh, I think it'd be a really cool trip. We have actually had people reach out from there to go visit. And then it's like a split between going there or if we go to Cape Town, which might be a little bit of a harder trip to get to. So maybe when the kids are older, but yeah, Marrakesh, Northern Africa, or eventually we'll love to make it to South Africa and go to Cape Town.
Well, when we go to Hawaii to see Penny, we'll have to pick her brains, and she's South African and grew up there.
Good point.
Maybe she can give us some tips.
Good point. And then final destination I have here is Abu Dhabi.
Oh, very nice. Very nice choice, Nelson.
Yeah, visit the UAE. You have never been anywhere that part of the world. So I would love to make the UAE. I think Abu Dhabi, they are really helping the sport grow over there. It's like the national sport, right? It's like in the school system, it's part of the military. Yeah. So I really be cool to see that. I have a few friends from Brazil that have actually moved there and live there full time teaching jiu-jitsu. So I would love to see how that looks and how big those kid classes are and just the infrastructure that have developed for jiu-jitsu. I remember when the Abu Dhabi Pro just came out. I remember I did the qualifiers like 2 years in a row, and I haven't competed in like the Abu Dhabi circuit, the Abu Dhabi Pro circuit, right? The gi tournament, not to be confused with the combat club, the no gi tournament keeps getting bigger and bigger. I would love to. I really like the rule set. I like the shorter matches. I like they ban the pant grip. So when you grab the back of the pants,
that inside of the waist,
and you pull the pants down, the sheik doesn't like seeing that. So they banned that, which I think is hilarious. And I think the IBJJF should follow suit.
I think it's smart. I think it makes sense.
Yes. So if you can't put your hand inside the leg, the leg grip, you can put the opening of the legs at the bottom of the pants. If you can't put your hand on the inside of that, it makes sense. You shouldn't be able to do that with the pants on top. So I think that would be a good rule change. But yes, Abu Dhabi is my final spot of places we haven't been to and I will love to visit. And I think I want to ride a camel. I want to ride a camel. I want to eat all the food. And I really want to see the jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of like my filters whenever we travel anywhere. How's the
jiu-jitsu?
How's the jiu-jitsu scene? How's the food? And then what the cool thing we can do, like culturally. What are we talking here?
Yep. I think, yeah. Mine's about the scenery, probably. A little bit more than the food, but the food, it is part of the experience, right? Really experiencing the culture.
Yes.
So, what's next? Do you want to cover places we have been already?
Yeah. So what have been some of your favorite places that you have been to?
That I've been to.
And we come back. Some of these, like the ones I have, we've been back a few times.
So maybe just because it's still fresh in my mind, but I put Panama down. That was a trip I took without you, but I really think you would love it, and I want you to go or us to go together, experience Panama, especially if you like food. Panama City, and experiencing the major city with the canal, the culture, the food. I think it would be a good trip for the kids. I really had a good time when I did the groundswell camp, and then it was a bit of a hike, about 5-hour drive, but they're working on a charter flight that was only about half an hour to get to the beach break surf camp. And if you ever want to learn surfing, they really took their time there. It's the calmest water you'll ever have, the safest water I think I've ever been in. And So yeah, that's a place I'd really like to go back with you and our family.
Okay. Yes, Panama, like the nerd in me, one of the things I love is like fusion cuisine. And Panama has one of the oldest Chinatowns in the Americas, if not the oldest. I gotta check my facts on that one. But the Chino Latino fusion, I love that like fusion of like Chinese and Latin food. So I would love to go to Panama and experience some of that. So piggyback with your surfing, I love Mexico. I grew up in the U.S., right? So as if you are a Latino growing up in the U.S., Mexican identity is kind of like baked in to being Latino. It's like you watch all the TV you watch. It's like usually the Spanish TV in the US is usually out of Mexico. So you get like so much Mexican culture just because my parents had Univision and Telemundo on all the time at home,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or like, there's not a lot of Chilean restaurants in the East Coast of the United States. So if we wanted Latin food, we usually ended up at a Mexican place. So that's where my love of tacos was born.
Mm-hmm.
And the jiu-jitsu scene is so cool in Mexico, and we have a lot of friends. We have friends in Mexico City now. We have their friends in southern Mexico, and every time I go we get like more invites to go train different places. And I love Mexico City, but Puerto Escondido, where we have our camp, has like a special place in my heart. It's like this little town. It has a beautiful beach. It's in Oaxaca. For those that don't know, Mexican cuisine can be very regional, and Oaxaca has like a place of its own in Mexican cuisine. It's just like very unique, and the food is so good, and the area is so beautiful. And you mentioned the surfing. You're like, Panama has some of the calmest water. Puerto Escondido is ridiculous. There's a few there's a few breaks that are like beginner friendly, but the main beach is called Cicatela. If you go to YouTube, you put Puerto Escondido surfing or Cicatela surfing, you can see these giant waves. And right now, I think it's like the high season is right when they have the big waves. And our friends have been posting stuff from the beach, and it's just like these 20-foot waves.
I was gonna ask how big are the waves right now because you showed me a video. They looked insane.
Yes, so we are not like
It's not your beginner waves.
not my beginner waves. I like we're all these jiu-jitsu camps and attempting to surf in Costa Rica and San Bart's with the Globetrotters and our trips to Mexico. Like I've taken a bunch of surf lessons, and I can catch a wave here and there on my own, but I am not ready for those big monsters. So yeah, Mexico has a special place in my heart. So what do you have next?
Next, I have Taiwan. We took a trip there with our friend Zenwei. Shout out to you, Evan. And having that experience with someone who is already like part of the culture, knew the area, just walking around like those like little mountain towns. And I love the one place that we stayed where we had like our own private bath, I guess, and just remembering baby Leo playing in the water and just looking out the window and just all the I don't know if it's called forest or jungle, but just how tropical it was, all the plant life, and just again the beautiful architecture, the way it's like built right into the mountains. I guess what was the name of the movie?
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. I always say like for some reason Sleep Away comes to my mind. I know that's spelled wrong. Spirited Away, and yeah, it's like right out of the movie.
Yeah, the Shufan, there's this tea house, and the tea house and like that area in general like inspire a lot of it's Yamasaki is I think who drew that. So yeah, to Ghibli or Ghibli, I always pronounce it wrong. I forget which way it goes. So it's a beautiful area. The food is so good too.
Mm-hmm.
Was it scallion pancake? The scallion pancakes there.
Leo lived on those.
Yeah,
As did you.
as I did. Yeah, scallion pancakes, lots of egg, like this like beautiful spicy red sauce, beef noodle soup. Then we got to train in Taiwan. One of my black belts is Taiwanese, so he spent some time in Taiwan over the years, visiting family, working on his Mandarin. So whenever he wasn't training with us in Jersey, he was training at one academy in Taiwan, and the name is escaping me. But we got to visit, we got to train with his crew in Taiwan, and it was really cool. And
yeah,
night markets and all the noodle soups and all the street
markets were so cool.
Anywhere that has like a strong street food scene,
yes.
it's like And I know everybody's like, damn, Nelson keeps talking about food, but yes, like, one of the main reasons we travel, I mean, I travel, is I just love trying out new food, and street food is some of my favorite. So Taiwan, definitely good addition to the list. So what do I have next? I have Norway.
Hey, shout
So
out to our Norwegians.
yeah, so um, we met, or through Globetrotters, we met a bunch of guys from this one academy, Bergen Grappling, in Bergen, Norway. So they're in the west coast of Norway, and is such a beautiful town, and it's so unique. And I love Scandinavian countries in general. So we've been to Denmark, we've been to Sweden, we've been to Norway, we've been to Finland, who is a weird cousin of the Scandinavian countries, and we've been to Iceland, and like all those are super cool. But Norway, as Bergen specific, has like a special place in my heart. I don't know if it's because we've been spent so much time there, or friends, whatever. But I really love like a little town.
That sounds awesome.
It's so walkable. So much stuff to do. The jiu-jitsu scene is healthy. There's a bunch of schools now, and our friends do. I really like training there because there's some judo guys, there's some wrestlers, so like we can do
It's a
stand
tough
up.
room.
It is a tough room. It's a super tough room, so we get great training, good laughs.
With laughs, yeah, that's the thing. It's all people you want to hang out with. Like,
Yes,
you could share a meal with. It's a good vibe.
for sure. So
With you on that.
Bergen, Norway. Shout out to our friends at Bergen Grappling. Hoping to get some of those guys to come visit in Vertigear Academy.
Yes.
And the other thing too is we've been skiing there. Not in Bergen, because Bergen is in the coast, but I forget the name of the mountain, but there's some really good skiing in Norway. That side of Norway. It does involve T-bars, which are not the friendliest when you're a beginner snowboarder, but
Go with a skier.
go with a skier so he can hike, like pull you up the mountain. But yeah, really good times in Norway. And if you ever over there, like planning a Scandinavian trip, definitely do it. We still have this trip planned from 2020, and we really wanted to do like take the train and go from Bergen to Oslo into Stockholm into Copenhagen, into like that little loop. So at one point we'll make it happen and visit all our friends on that side of the world. But yeah, definitely, if I had to narrow it down, one of my favorite places we've been to is Norway. I have to like Scandinavia. I love. If I had to narrow it down to one place, is like Bergen. I love Stockholm and Copenhagen, but I don't like tourists. Right. Even though I'm a tourist myself, but I'm a traveler.
Copenhagen was always up when we've talked about this before, is one of our favorite walkable cities as well. But
yes, it's like I like a smaller European city over a larger city.
Yeah,
I've discovered.
Yep.
So that is my choice. What do you have, Hillary?
Well, I really, when our friend Siggy came to visit, it's still, my wheels are turning about an inverted gear camp in Iceland, but doing it a little differently, where we are in Reykjavik, but we make more of a tour out of it and branch outside of that and do the Golden Circle and visit some of the other gyms on the island. And so Iceland, I love that land of fire and ice.
Yeah, Iceland keeps getting more popular. Iceland keeps getting more and more popular every year too. So we got to do it sooner than later, I think.
Right.
Go back. But yeah, what was the first time we went to Iceland?
When we did our trip to Greenland.
So that was what, 2017, 2016, something like that, right?
So we just, because that's when you saw Ruan in Japan recently, and we did, I think it was 7 years ago.
Yes. So Iceland, and then amazing jiu-jitsu. Molnir is such a cool gym, and tough room.
Especially I wish there was, could think of another adjective, because it's next level tough.
It's next level, especially if you're a big guy. The man of very technical, very skilled
Vikings,
giant Vikings in that room. It's pretty awesome. So if you ever get a chance to go to Iceland and you're a jiu-jitsu or do MMA, definitely visit Molnir. I remember we went one time, and then it was like wrestling and grappling. So we were like doing single legs and round stand for the feet for like an hour. And we held our own. We did pretty good, and then we got invited to go back that afternoon for like pro MMA training. We're like, oh no. I was like, dude, like I barely survived this.
Thank you, but no thank
I'm
you.
not coming
We're on
back.
vacation.
Yeah, I'm not coming back to get punched in the face. All right. So Iceland. Awesome. Okay. Moving on. I have Peru.
I have Peru as well.
You have Peru as well?
Mm-hmm.
And this comes with a disclaimer because I know the friends from Chile are going to be like, come on, man. So I'm from Chile. Jiu-Jitsu in Chile, it's amazing. Santiago.
There's a little bit of a rivalry there.
There's a little bit of a rivalry there. It's when I go, like, I think because, you know, I'm from Chile, I don't even think of Chile as a destination. It's just, that's when I go home. So I get an asterisk to say Chile's, I get a +1 on my list to say Chile at all times. But South American country outside of Chile, you should visit Peru, especially Lima. Really cool city. We were talking about that that Latin Chinese connection before. Peru has a lot of Asian immigrants, especially Chinese and Japanese. So there's this whole style of cuisine. They call it comida chaufa. That is a Chinese Latin blend. There's some amazing dishes. And then there's the Nikkei cuisine, which is the Japanese and Japanese and Latino cuisine as well. And then there's some really, really amazing restaurants. Some street food is amazing. I ate so much that last trip. And the jiu-jitsu keeps getting better and better. Like the rest of South America is just catching up to Brazil. But yeah, lots of good jiu-jitsu now. What do you have to say, Hillary?
Peru, I just, walking around Lima, I'm really glad when we did our layover, we got to go back again. It was just, again, really, because we were traveling with Leo, who was maybe 2. So just having a toddler, there were lots of parks, lots of open, safe spaces to walk around and experience different parts, whether you're looking at the culture, you're looking for food, it was just a really nice city to visit. And so I liked the city, but I also kind of want to go back, do maybe the Machu Picchu hike.
Yeah, kids gotta be a little bit older for that.
I know.
There's some altitude.
But that's why
there. But yes,
they're still growing.
I hear you.
Hopefully it'll still be there when they're old enough.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to carry them in the Bjorn, right? Oh, yeah. When we were looking at what it would be to do a trip, too much with a baby, but
yeah,
somebody who can manage the hike on their own. Let's go.
They're not Cusco ready, but we'll get them there.
Yeah.
I have Italy in my list.
Right. Okay.
So we went to Rome and we got to train with Tribe Jiu-Jitsu headquarters, I guess, Federico Tisi.
Mm-hmm. Tisi.
Yep. And then that was a really cool experience.
It was.
The gym was northern side of Rome, if I remember correctly. And everybody was so cool. And we got like a ton of like food recommendations. Again, circling back to the food. So Rome was really cool. But my favorite part of that trip was the time we spent in Sardinia. And I was just getting some reminders because I think that was also like about 7 years ago. It's one of like those years we travel a lot, and we spent 2 weeks in Sardinia. We did this Globetrotters camp that is no longer around. It was so cool. So wrapping it up, Italy, Sardinia, and we're gonna cut this one short. Run out of studio time here. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you for listening, Panda Nation. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Inverted Gear podcast. You can find us at invertedgear.com as well as your favorite podcast app. Don't forget to give us a like, and we'll see you soon.